of course you two show up as soon as I start filming. I've asked a few friends to join me at the back room of the Blue Whale. No, not these two. Bobby Lugosi and Jonathan Harrison. Surprisingly, they've never met, even though I think they have a lot in common. Bobby's special interest is Dracula, and he's known to many people as the autistic Dracula. Jonathan Harrison is a brilliant actor and has portrayed Dracula in several mediums, including as part of the Collinsport Players. You'll see him playing Dracula in this very famous, funny Collinsport Players skit, Curtains.
A seance held in the great house of Collinwood sent Victoria Winters back in time to the year 1795, where she lived another lifetime and fell in love with a man named Peter Bradford. Now, a twist of fate has returned Victoria to 1968, where Barnabas Collins and Dr. Julia Hoffman question Vicky about her strange experience.
And that's really all that I remember. I'm still very confused, and my memories are hazy.
Perhaps hypnosis would help you sort out your memories. Would you like to be hypnotized?
Yes, I think I would. There's so much I don't understand. So much I would like to know. Maybe hypnosis could tell me who my mother and father were, who I am, and why I lived in that other time.
Very well.
Julia, not now. We've kept poor Vicky up almost all nights. Would you please leave us alone? Vicky and I have something to talk about.
But Barnabas,
Julia, please. I shall talk with you later.
I'll wait for you in the foyer.
Barnabas, thank you so much for trying to help me. You're such a good friend to me.
Vicky, you know I want to be much more.
Barnabas.
Please hear me out. For a long time now, you've known my feelings for you. I was afraid I'd lost you when you vanished during the seance, but you've come back to me. If only the original Barnabas Collins had a second chance with his beloved Josette. Vicky, I love you as much as Barnabas loves Josette. I want you to love me.
But what about Peter?
Peter Bradford is lost to you, Vicky. He lived and died in another time long ago. He's as lost to you as Josette is to the first Barnabas. Leave Collinsport with me.
I'm sorry, Barnabas, but I cannot go with you.
Is there nothing I can say to change your mind?
No, Barnabas. I'm sorry.
Then I am sorry too. For I must have you. I must! Forgive me, Vicky. But now your will is my will. Like all of the others that have been under my influence, you'll be calm and accepting and await my directions.
No! No!
What's happening? Speak to me! Julia! Julia, come here!
Barnabas, what have you done?
You know very well what I did. It's the only way she can be mine.
Oh, Barnabas, there are others who would love
Be
you.
quiet, examine her.
None of your
None of the others
victims.
ever reacted violently during my embrace. Something ghastly, deep inside Vicky awoke, and she remembered something. Julia, do you think she realizes I'm the Barnabas Collins she knew in 1795?
I don't know. All I know is that she's in a semi-catatonic state brought on by severe trauma. Perhaps a recollection of repressed memories. Barnabas, perhaps you are not the first.
Julia, don't be absurd. Do something for her.
Now I was asked you to leave. You've upset her enough for one night and it's almost gone. Please wait outside or go. Vicky, give me your what's wrong.
Julia? Oh, Julia, help me! Oh, Barnabas is a vampire!
Vampire? Vicky, try not to talk just yet. Perhaps this would be a good time to try hypnosis. It will relax you and it will unlock the memories which are coming back to you. Look at this medallion. See how it catches the light. I've never seen a jewel as beautiful as this or as compelling. The events of tonight are fading away. Instead, we're going to go farther back and explore what I just said you remembered. I want you to remember, keep looking at the jewels. There are little pictures behind your eyes. You can see them if you try. You must remember, you must.
Vampires! Vampires!
No, Vicky, you must not think about tonight.
Julia, I'm not! I'm remembering something long ago. Julia, do you believe that the dead can influence the living? Could you conceive a superhuman force capable of reaching out from the other side of death?
I don't understand.
I do. Julia, my father has that power.
Your father? Who is your father? He must be long dead because you were an orphan at the founding home. Are you saying who he is? That he influences you from the other side? How is that possible?
I remember everything now. The bite of the vampire brought it all back to me. Even memories from before a time when I should be old enough to have memories. My mother was married to my father for only 2 years. It was a marriage my father never wanted. Arranged by my father's father for court purposes. My father hated my mother and me.
Court? Do you mean a court of law? Keep looking at the medallion.
When my father banished my mother and me, she took me to live with an old gypsy named Gretchen. As a baby, I watched, horrified as my despotic mother stabbed herself to death. But Gretchen cared for me. She raised me until my father began to seek out and destroy all gypsies one by one to settle a terrifying score. And when he killed Gretchen's son, Laszlo, she took her revenge on me. Your father is a vampire, and so shall you carry the taint as well. But you shall never fear the sun. You will never cower from the crucifix. You shall ever be alive, but whoever loves you will die. You will live many different lives in many different eras, drifting in and out of each lifetime through supernatural means. From your crib you have seen what your father does to people, but you will not remember the horror until a vampire attacks you hundreds of years from now. And when he does, all of your memories will come flooding back, and your vampire father will be returned to you. Julia, my father is a vampire.
Barnabas, Barnabas, come quickly, quickly.
What is happening?
Vicky has hypnotized Barnabas, and she has recalled some repressed memories of her father and vampires. Barnabas, you are not the first. Victoria Winter's father is a vampire.
That's impossible. It's a trick of Angeline.
Vicky, keep looking at the medallion. Remember, remember, remember the name of your father.
He goes by many names. Warrior, Prince, Tailor, Son of the Devil, Dracula!
Pay no attention to the sounds you hear or the people in this room. Everyone at Collinwood is your friend. Everyone. When you awaken, you will not remember your misguided words about Dracula, a storybook character who does not really exist. And you will not remember the secret of Barnabas Collins. To you, Barnabas is still a charming human man. There are no vampires at Collinwood.
Thank you.
Oh, Barnabas, you know I would do anything for you. Vicky, when I count to 3, you will awaken. 1, 2, 3.
You see, Julia, it's not so long. We kept poor Vicky up all night. She fell asleep before our very eyes.
Is that what happened? Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I had such a vivid, bad dream about Dracula.
Ever let me go test part of this collar. Your ego almost matches my own. But then I have reason to be proud. For I am Lord of the Undead, and Victoria Winters is no one to you. Fool! I want Victoria Winters, and I shall have her. You are no match for me.
Julia, it's true. He's real. Dracula is a vampire. And he wants me.
He shall not have you, Vicky. You'll stay with me.
Oh, I see, Barnabas Collins. You desire her for yourself. You intend to save her from me? How much does the girl know about you?
She knows I love her. One day she will love me.
But at what price, Collins? At what price?
Don't worry, Barnabas. Julia's cross will protect us from the vampire.
Cross.
I am far too powerful for your crucifix to hold me at bay for more than a moment.
And I'll use that moment against you. You will not have Vicky.
Julia, I know what to do. The sun has just risen. I know how to kill Dracula.
No, Vicky, no! Vicky, you don't know what you've done!
Victoria Winters, I am your father. You are killing your own father, but at least you are also killing your vampire lover.
No, Barnabas, no! Barnabas, let me help you!
Julia, what have I done? I wanted to kill the vampire, but instead I killed the man who loved me.
You killed the man I loved!
And I killed my father.
Don't ever say that. He was the most evil man who ever lived.
But he was also my father. Oh, Julia, what have I done? Oh, what have I done?
The Collinsport Players.
Good job.
Curtains.
A special thank you to Lord Captain, our assistant director, Steve Benjamin Sound.
Wasn't that great? I love the Collinsport Players, and I am so excited and honored to have a salute to the Collinsport Players here on this podcast. So keep an eye out for that. Right now, I've got to head down to the Blue Whale to meet with Bobby and Jonathan. Come on, let's go, cousin. I've had the privilege to work with Bobby on several projects. He makes videos on TikTok and YouTube under Lugosi Theater, and I've had the good fortune to play several roles for Bobby, including Angelique and Maggie Evans in some Dark Shadows videos. And I will show a compilation of some of those Barnabas and Angelique videos for you here now. Check this out.
Unless somebody does something, I fear my dear little sister Sarah won't live through the day.
I might be able to help her.
You?
I had the same illness when I was a child. I almost died from it. I would have if my mother hadn't known what to do. She brewed a tea made of special herbs. Shall I make a cup for Sarah?
Oh, yes, I'm willing to try anything.
If I should cure Sarah, you'd be very grateful to me, would you not?
I'd be in debt to you for all my life. I'd give you anything you want.
I want you to make me your wife.
My wife?
The price is too high.
No price is too high for Sarah's life.
You served me well, little doll. Because of you, Barnabas is indebted to me. More than anything in the world, I want to make you happy. What is it? Why do you look so troubled?
Well, Angelique, we never spoke of marriage.
But we did, this afternoon. You told me you were going to make me your wife if I was able to cure Sarah. And Sarah has recovered.
Well, yes, but
But what?
I thought Sarah was going to die. I was desperate.
Don't say any more. You've said enough. But you do not want to marry me. All right, Barnabas.
Don't cry, Angelique.
I love you. But you cannot love me.
Can you accept me knowing how I feel about Josette?
What difference does that make? I love you, Barnabas. I want more than anything in the world to be your wife.
Very well, then. I won't break my promise.
I set a curse upon you, Barnabas Collins. You wanted your Josette so much, well, you shall have her. But not in the way that you would have chosen. You will never rest, Barnabas. And you will never be able to love anyone. For whoever loves you will die. That is my curse. And you will live with it through all eternity.
Okay, so we are recording. And I'd like to welcome you both to the back room at the Blue Whale. And I'm very, very pleased to have you. And I'm so, so happy that my partner, another half, Gordon Domowski, is here. And he's hitched a ride on the TARDIS to be here, but he's here.
Hello,
Well,
everyone.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much, Catherine.
Oh, I'm so glad. You know, Bobby, you've actually helped me so much to even come up with this podcast. I mean, probably more than you know, because I have really bad anxiety. I have really bad stage fright. I have a fear of public speaking. And you are just, you're such an inspiration to so many people. To me, you're encouraging and you make the world a better place just by being you. And I don't know that I say that enough or that you realize that, but you really do. And I love you so much, buddy. I really do.
I love you too. Thank you so much. And you make the world a better place by being you too.
Oh, thank you. And so, this podcast, it's different than I think a lot of Dark Shadows podcasts, because a lot of times you'll just have guests come on and it's very set questions and we're only talking this storyline, or, we're going to talk to the actors, but here, I have a different idea where I want to share my Dark Shadows family with each other, with members that, have never met each other, or that maybe know the name but don't know the face. And I want to share them with the world, them and their talents, because you are all so incredibly talented.
Well, so are you.
Oh, and you're both amazing actors, both Bobby, both you and Jonathan are amazing actors. And I know that you may not always think of yourself as an actor, and maybe you don't get up on stage, and you're not an actor in the same way Jonathan is an actor, perhaps. But you are both brilliant actors in your own way, and you both bring joy to so many people.
Thank you so much. Well, no one can do Angela like you.
So let's see here. Hold on. My phone's slipping. I didn't tighten the thing correctly. There we go. Okay.
It's okay. It's a Dark Shadows blooper.
Oh, okay. This night must go nothing wrong.
I'm being followed by a boom shadow. Boom shadow, boom shadow.
I love that. So, what does Dark Shadows mean to all three of you? And we'll start with Jonathan first. What does Dark Shadows mean to you?
Well, let me give myself my proper introduction. I'm Jonathan Harrison, and I'm far beyond comparison with what I won't say.
I love
If you could name the film that came from, then maybe you'll get a special prize. I don't know.
Oh gosh, I don't know, but that is a wonderful, wonderful introduction, and I love it. Love it. So what does Dark Shadows mean to you? And yeah.
Well, I got into Dark Shadows from the very first episode in 1966. My mom and my sister were watching General Hospital at the time, and this weird show came on after General Hospital one day, and we continued watching it, and it says, wow, this is kind of weird and crazy, and just kept watching it and every day. And a year later, a vampire came out of a coffin and made things even more fun. A lot of what was going on with my life at that time as a child was I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, and the 60s were a very tumultuous time at that. Not much different than what's going on right now these days. Mm-hmm. We had riots in 67 with National Guard going down the street in tanks and stuff, and all kinds of scary stuff. We did have one positive thing happen in 68. The Tigers won the World Series, so everyone was hugging each other, and then the next day they were going back to hating each other. It was just a very, very crazy time in Detroit back then, and Dark Shadows was my one place where I could rush home from school and take some comfort in being friends with a vampire.
I love it.
A vampire who happened to have the same first name as me, Jonathan Frid.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I had the name Jonathan before he did.
Mm-hmm. That's right, because he was John Frid.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I was Jonathan Harrison from birth. And of course, I share my name with another great actor, Jonathan Harris, from Lost in Space as well. And that was another one of my favorite shows that came out in 66, along with Batman and Munsters and Addams Family and all those other great shows that were around back then. But yeah, out of all of them, Dark Shadows was definitely my favorite. I could watch it every day instead of having to wait, a whole week for the next episode. It was just great. It was fun when they started going back in time and actors started playing different parts and challenging themselves in that way. Then, of course, they came back to the present and they started the Addams storyline, which really got me going because, of course, my background with that, ever since I was a wee little kid, I was always the tallest in the class. And so my classmates always compared me to the Frankenstein monster. And I very quickly and smartly turned that into a compliment that they were comparing me to Boris Karloff, the actor, not the monster. And the same thing when Munsters came on and they compared me again to Herman, and I said, "Oh, you're comparing me to Fred Gwynn." And of course, years later, I actually auditioned for the Christmas movie of the Munsters, which they filmed in Australia, and I didn't get the part, of course, because I didn't have as big a name as the guy that did get it. But I didn't want to go to Australia, and looking back at that Christmas movie, it wasn't the greatest.
I think you had a lucky escape.
Yeah. Although I may have made, who knows, I may have made it better.
Oh, maybe.
But,
I know you would have.
I told you, Bobby. I told you you'd like it. Didn't I tell you?
I know you were right.
Bobby, why don't you tell us what Dark Shadows means to you?
Dark Shadows is this amazing special show, and I remember the way I got into it. I was already into Dracula and Bela Lugosi and Universal Monsters, and actually the first time I ever came across it, I was just a little kid, and it was at the video store. And I thought it was like a slasher series because I saw all these videotapes. And then one day I was sick from school, and I saw, I was one episode I saw, and it was the episode where Jameson has to go into the room where the grandma is dead in the coffin and has to look for the will. And that just grabbed, I didn't know what it was called, what the title was. It just it really grabbed me. And then years later, when I saw Dark Shadows coming out on DVD, that's when I was like, that was that show. And then I asked my mom about it, and she was like, yeah, I used to run home from school to watch it. And my grandma used to watch it. And then I started watching the DVDs, and I had never seen a soap opera before. I had never seen this type of show before. And it just was so engrossing. You just got so into the characters, and the DVD volumes, they started with episode 210, so you just jumped right into it. And even though at first you don't really know what's going on, but you fall into that world. And I remember when the volume 1 ended with Maggie about to stake Barnabas and him burying his fangs, and it ended like, what? And then I had to wait, so it was a little bit different, as I had to wait 2 months for the next DVD volume. And the next DVD volume ended with Dr. Julia Hoffman coming from out the corner saying, I've been waiting for you for a long time, a very long time. And then it ended, I had to wait another 2 months. But it's just this special show, and knowing that my mom watched, and then me and my grandma started watching it together, and we'd stay up for hours just watching it together, and it was different from other shows because it wasn't. You felt closer to the actors. I remember when we were watching House of Dark Shadows, my grandma was like, "Oh my God, what is going on with Julia's hair?" And it was like someone we knew, So and then just meeting all these wonderful fans and meeting you may have become such wonderful friends, but it started because of Dark Shadows. So it's not just a show. It's it's this special thing that just that brings people together and unites people, and it's this amazing escape. An amazing escape from the real scary world into this wonderful fantasy world.
Yes, it is. Gordon, darling, what does Dark Shadows mean to you?
Oh, Dark Shadows. Yeah, Dark Shadows for me is it's one of the few truly original pieces of storytelling. I mean, I started watching it. I was in college, and I was a commuter student, and I lived near an old school VHS video rental. Literally, it was like $2 to rent a tape, three for $5, and they actually had, as you walked in, they had a little display with, I'm not sure how many volumes had been released at that point, but it was like a row or two of Dark Shadows tapes. So I literally started with 1, 2, and 3. So it's literally the first Barnabas episodes. And as I was working and going to school, I would literally rent them, watch them, uh, do my homework, and then like keep doing that. And eventually I got involved in fandom at the time because this was around the Dark Shadows revival in 91. So I had done the protests outside NBC to protest the cancellation. I attended the DS celebrations in 91 and 95. Actually got to meet a lot of the actors, including Jonathan Frid, who is even more impressive. Like whatever your ideas of him, how awesome he was even more awesome. And I kind of watched until, I kind of ended around 1897, but then I did a series of moves, but luckily through um, libraries and other resources, I was able to keep up with it. Um, and for me, it's one of those. What I love about the show is that it's always about um, one of the sub themes is about people, not just people looking for a connection, people um, wanting to just get through stuff. People who are, people who think that they are monstrous, but they're reclaiming their humanity. And for me, there's something that's really, there's something I think that's very resonant because you don't. Um, I think a lot. I think Dark Shadows, because it was a soap opera and so focused on, it was a half hour. They had so many sets. I mean, the best special effect in Dark Shadows is the acting because people really went into it. And because it has that live on tape feel, it has a feeling that a lot of shows don't really have. I've said this before elsewhere. I don't think there's a truly bad episode of Dark Shadows. There's none where you say, okay, that one's we can just kind of hide the master tape for that one because we don't really need it. It's just wall to wall solid viewing, and it's great comfort viewing. And I also grew up with I was one of the original monster kids, Universal Horror, Svengoolie on Saturday afternoons. So like for me, that kind of story, science fiction, horror, fantasy, that was part of my makeup. So it kind of hit the right spot.
Mhm. Wonderful. I know I said earlier that, it just seems like fate, when you have, the pairings of people that I've been able to talk to today. And I think this is another one because the three of you really have a lot in common. And I think that there's just a great vibe there. And that's, one of the great things about this show is, you meet people who are, like-minded people who have the same interests, who have the same feelings as you do about things, and you just make these wonderful connections.
Hmm.
I agree, and it's like watching Dark Shadow because it is like over 1,225 episodes. It's not just a regular series; it's a whole experience watching it, and it's joining people who had the same experience that you do. And I remember I went to the 2007 Dark Shadows convention. It was the only convention I ever went to, and just when me and my mom were checking into the hotel, there was three ladies there, and they were like, "Are you here for Dark Shadows?" And it's like, yeah, like it's like this is like this instant connection that you feel like, wow, you've had that same wonderful experience that I've had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And all three of you have had some sort of acting experience in some capacity, and Gordon, you made this great point about, the acting on the show, which is just, it's wall to wall, it's top notch. It's like, yes, how have you guys found that the acting on the show has inspired you or helped you in any kind of performance?
One big thing that I really learned from Jonathan Frid was how he would use his hands.
Mm-hmm.
He would always do he had big hands like mine, and he would, and I mean, not like him on the show, he would do big gestures, and then when he at the convention, he would do like big gestures with his hands, and that's something directly that I learned from him. That you could use your hands as like a visual aid, and to make something what you're saying more dramatic.
Jonathan?
Well, the first play I did in high school was Count Dracula. My English teacher had come up to me and said, "Boy, you're a tall one. Why don't you try out for the Count?" And so I did, and I got the part. And actually, the part was double cast. There was one other actor that was playing the Count as well, and he was a little bit shorter than me, and he did the Count very much traditionally as Bela Lugosi. Me, I did the Count as Jonathan Frid. Tried to make him as sympathetic as possible, and which is weird because Count Dracula was not a sympathetic character except when Jack Palance did it. So that's where I started my acting career was emulating Jonathan as a vampire, and it went on from there. What I appreciated about Jonathan was that no matter whether or not he was memorizing his lines right or not, he just barreled on through and just emoted, and the pauses and everything just was wonderful. You didn't know that he was having trouble with the lines. It just happened that way. That it was his acting. It was great. I took that stuff to heart as well. In high school, when we tried to do acting classes, but every time the play was cast for the semester, the acting classes went out the window, and we just went into doing the shows. And so that's where my acting background really shines, is just jumping into a show and doing it. Once I got into college, and they had all these acting classes that I was supposed to take. I says, acting classes? I don't need those stinking acting classes. I just go on stage and do it. And when years later, when I got involved with there were actors that I was working with, they were part of the actors studio out here in California, and they would go through rehearsal saying, "Well, what's my motivation? What do I need to do to get into this character?" You just get up there and you do it. I think that goes all the way back to how I watched Jonathan Frid and all the other actors in the original Dark Shadows. That it seemed so natural for them, and so it was natural for me.
Gordon, I know that you do a lot of public speaking, which in a way is, like acting. You are getting up in front of people. And have you found that, the acting on Dark Shadows and the actors of Dark Shadows have helped you in any way with public speaking?
Well, on some level, it has, because usually for when I'm giving, like if I'm presenting in front of, say, the Chicago City Council, I find it helps if I dress up like Count Patofi when I go and dress up, because that way they tend to pay attention.
And everything.
But no, I'll talk from a writer's perspective, because I think a lot of times, the great thing about Dark Shadows is when you watch the acting for the acting and what the choices the actors make, that can help inform how I create a character. So, like if you look at, say, Jonathan Fritz Barnabas, it's never like, okay, one shot he's completely evil and vampire, and the other he's weeping about it. He's able to weave those two in so that you know he's doing horrible things, but you also can feel for him because he's being motivated by what he perceives as love. If you look at someone like Thayer David or Grayson Hall, given the number of characters they do, we watch for the story, but if you watch for the characters, her Julia Hoffman is different than her Magda, is different than her um you know and I'm blanking on her other roles, but it's you get to see, or like let's use Jerry Lacey as Trask. 1795 Trask is basically a witch hunter. He's basically, he would have been perfect in 17th century Salem. 1897 Gregory Trask is more of a grifter. That, when you see that final scene where he's in the room of the East Wing, and Joan Bennett is like, she's all but smiling. She says, "Oh, Jeffrey, I'm so terrible." Like you could see how they are saying so much. And Lacey as 1840 Trask is, "Hey, my dad disappeared. I want to know what happened." So it's figuring out their body language and the way they speak and the way they move. That can help go, okay, if I'm building a character, I might want to pull a little bit of that into them, or I want to pull a little bit of this into them. So, and of course, I also write dressed as Patofi. So, in fact, after we finish this, I'm going to go put on my Patofi cosplay and do some writing into the evening. So,
So looking at, the different characters, and, you're talking about these different characters, and Jonathan, I know that your favorite character is Adam. Gordon, who would your favorite character be?
oof. Do I have to choose one?
Let's go with top three.
Okay, well, top three, I'll say Count Patofi,
Mm-hmm.
Angelique,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to say Quentin, 1897 Quentin.
Okay. Bobby?
My number one, Barnabas. He is so amazing. Oh shoot, sorry.
Oh,
Another blooper.
we lost you. Oh no. Jonathan, your top three?
Well, like you said, Adam is one of them. Barnabas is definitely one. Quentin is probably my number three.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. I think my top three would be probably Angelique and Quentin and Barnabas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just figured Barnabas is everyone's favorite, so it's like me choosing him is kind of like like a gimme. So I'll take the mulligan on that one.
So did we lose Bobby, or
I see him on my screen.
Somewhere?
I see him. Here he is.
Do you guys hear me?
There. Okay. Oh, good. You have to speak up, darling, or I have to put a bell on you. Where did he go now?
He didn't go into paralyzed time or go through the door into the dream curse or anything.
All right, yeah. The plot twist, I was kidnapped.
Well, you're probably in the mausoleum or something.
Right, yeah.
Let's do the dream curse again.
Now the dream curse. So that brings me to my next question, because you have people who love the dream curse and people who don't care for the dream curse. Are there any particular storylines that maybe you guys aren't too big on?
Let's see. I didn't get to say. I think my favorite three: Barnabas Collins, Dr. Julia Hoffman, and Roger Collins. Like Roger's so good.
I know, that's fun.
And I never appreciated him until I went back and watched the beginning episodes. That's why I was like, oh my God, he's amazing. But I like all the storylines, honestly, like, because, like, I mean, obviously I have my favorites, like the first Barnabas storyline is my favorite, the 1795, 1897. But like I feel like they all have something. Like, I know, like, for example, the Leviathan story is kind of notorious, and but I love it. Like, I love how Liz gets to be like sneaky again, and and how they bring back Paul Stoddard and Christopher Pennock is so cool. Like, and then even like 1840 parallel time, how you get it's neat to see Jonathan Frid play Bram. Like, if like the first time you see it, you may be like, oh man, I miss Barnabas, but he's great as Bramwell. Like. So it's like I feel like every storyline has like everyone has their favorites, but I feel like every storyline has something special.
That's true. Gordon?
Yeah, I kind of have to agree because like every storyline has its strengths and weaknesses. I do think I think a couple storylines that are very underrated are it's kind of Collinwood in 1995 onward, up until 1841 parallel time, because it's just a relentlessness about it. It's like get to the point. And it's just, especially since they were fighting cancellation. I mean, I think one that I'm not as keen on is parallel time, but I think that was, if you're making a movie, you got to figure out how you keep your leads making a movie. I think there's some interesting, I think Pennock does a great job as Cyrus Longworth and John Yeager, but I think that's one where you can kind of see where it's like, okay, we've got this weird situation. They did the best they can, but I don't think there's any real clunkers in the entire series.
Jonathan?
Yeah, I gotta agree with most people that the Leviathan storyline was pretty weird. It just trying to bring H.P. Lovecraft into Dark Shadows was kind of crazy. I've never been a big fan of H.P. Lovecraft until the HBO series that they put out. That one was really excellent. But before, yeah, that's about my least favorite is Leviathan. Other than that, I really went into most of the storylines. I love the parallel time, especially the parallel times, because I'm an old comic book fan from way back, and DC, started the whole multiverse thing back with Earth 1 and Earth 2 and all that back in the early 60s, and Dan Curtis just continued parallel time, and even nowadays you've got Peacemaker with their quantum doorways that they go through and have their different times that they go through, and I know that a lot of people from Dark Shadows, some of them are comic book fans as well, and some of them aren't. But yeah, the last season of the season 2 of Peacemaker is something to see, because it goes into all this parallel time stuff as well, and it'd be interesting to see some of the fans check it out.
And on that note, since you all are writers as well as having acting experience, you all have writing experience. Now, as a writer, what would you change about say the Leviathan storyline, Jonathan?
I wrote one sketch based on Jeb Hawks during that time period. I also acted as Jeb Hawks for the wedding sequence in another skit. So I do have a fondness for Chris Pennock. But I've never really thought about actually rewriting the Leviathans. So I don't really have an answer for you right now.
That's okay. Gordon?
I think with the Leviathan storyline, I think I'd probably maybe do a little bit less Lovecraft, and maybe more lean into Invasion of the Body Snatchers and Who Goes There, which is the story that influenced the thing, and turn it more into a, kind of establish it, okay, maybe there's a creature that is a shapeshifter who can affect people's minds, and that creature decides that, okay, it comes out as Jeb Hawks. Because I think Lovecraft was not that well known at the time. So, I mean, they pulled out the obvious, like, okay, if it's you go scared, and it's this weird thing. I think though, by doing like the body snatchers and the Who Goes There, I think you give the Leviathans more of a, like, there's an enemy within and you can't identify them and you're not sure who's who. And I think part of it that time is, if you come off 1897, what else are you going to write? Like, you're not going to want to do another 1897. But I think leaning into that might have been a much less convoluted story.
Bobby?
I would have somehow tried to convince Dennis Patrick to be on more episodes and and have like more with Paul Stoddard, just because he was such a he's such a like a legendary character in the Dark Shadows field. Like with the whole storyline of Elizabeth thinking that she murdered him and his body being buried in the basement, and it was just because I remember, like, I had the book Dark Shadows Memories. I got it like early on, so I hadn't seen a lot of the episodes yet, but I was looking ahead, to see what was going to happen. and I saw like Paul Stoddard's coming on, like what's that gonna be like? What's he gonna be like? So I would have liked a little bit more of Paul Stoddard in it, just to like and see like because Liz, she was already under the Leviathan influence, so I wonder like what those interactions of her and Paul would have been like if they met before she was under that influence and then turned.
I like that. Very cool. I will be right back. My computer's making a strange noise. Just hang tight for a minute, because I don't know if it's what it's doing.
Do, 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 do.
There we go. So the video of the chat that I did a little while ago with Guy and Sharon was loading, and it finished loading. I'm like, who's talking? Like, what is that noise? And that's what that was. Because I'm like, I know it's not you guys. So if I seemed a little distracted, that's why I was trying to figure out what was going on with that.
Jonathan, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, first of all, it's the Collinsport Players are this legendary group who you guys did such amazing work at the conventions. What were your favorite characters to play?
Well, my first character I played was Adam, and that was one of my favorites. My second character I played was Quentin, which is another one of my favorites. And I eventually did play Barnabas as well. And like I said, I played Jeb Hawks. I've played Roger was one of the last ones that I played, and that was quite fun. I also played Jeremiah at one point. With cat ears and everything.
Cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, I like this. Ask questions, you guys. I like this. We're
also Dr. Lang I played. That was the first skit that I wrote was I was playing Dr. Lang.
Like, how did like the Collinsport Players how did that come about?
Well, I mean, I know we're eventually going to have our own Collinsport Players episode of this, I guess we can go a little bit into it. Laura Brody and Freeze Briha was the originator. She just started getting up on stage all by herself and started doing these skits and dragged Jeff Thompson up on stage, and he started joining in. And next thing I know, I went to a convention and I saw this short person playing Adam, and Jeff looked at me and said, "Gee, I could have had a V8." And here's a tall person that could play Adam. Things went on from there.
That's so groovy.
Mm-hmm.
I remember at the convention I went to, it was there was a skit. It was called "The Golden Girls Go to Collinwood."
Right.
I remember that one. I mean, it was so funny. Everyone did such a great job of like being the character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my favorite part of the conventions, besides the panels with the actors, were the costume gala and the Collinsport Players skits, because there is so much creativity that goes on, and it's just incredible. My very first convention was in 2004, and Amanda, who is a very dear friend, in fact, we flew out together for that convention. We flew out to New York. She got up on stage and did her song "Vicky" to the Tony Basil song "Mickey," and in fact, I'll put that on one of these episodes, maybe this one or another one, I don't know. But she just came up with these brilliant folk song lyrics. And I thought she was just so brave and wonderful to just get up there and do it. And it was hysterical and wonderful. And another moment from that convention was seeing Eileen Lynch Farrar, who's brilliant. And she's done a lot with the Collinsport Players. And she did a song called "Collinsport, Two Lerner and Lowe's Camelot." And that was the moment that my brain went, these are my people. I'm home. I mean, that was the exact moment, was, Collinsport. And I thought it was just brilliant and wonderful. And so I've always had this wonderful love and affection for anyone who performs, at the conventions, either in the costume gala or, in the Collinsport Players, because, they're so admirable. I have absolutely horrible stage fright. I couldn't do it. I don't even know how the hell I'm doing this, and I'm not even drunk or anything. So I don't know.
It's easy because there's really no audience, and you're talking to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. But a lot of admiration. I just think it's absolutely wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there is a little story I do want to tell about this amazing experience I had.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in college, I was in a speech class, and I decided I'm going to do a speech on Dark Shadows, because you could pick anything you wanted. And like, I didn't really think he was going to say yes,
Mm-hmm.
but I thought, let me Facebook message Christopher Pennock and see if I could ask him some questions. And he said, yeah, like he was so nice. Like I went overboard. I asked him like 12 questions. I went totally Lucy Ricardo on him. And but he answered them, and he just, it was like this wonderful little story he wrote out. He told me all about it, and like not only like it was just so nice of him, because it wasn't like anything publicity. It was just just like a little speech I was giving in class, and he was so nice. So I had that amazing experience of a Dark Shadows actor helping me with my homework. And I remember during the speech, when I got to the part of kids used to run home from school to see it, my teacher's eyes lit up. And I knew, she didn't interrupt me, but I knew that I just triggered a memory, that she remembered running home from school.
Yeah, I've been working on with Ansel Farage on a book about his filmmaking, and he and through him I made arrangements to speak to both Jerry Lacey and David Selby. And Jerry Lacey went okay, but with with David Selby, there's a back and forth, and it was like because we were both trying to find the right day and time. Literally one day I pick up the phone and it's, "Hi Gordon, it's David Selby." And I'm trying not to do the obnoxious fan thing, but I'm like, "Okay, well, yeah, thank you very much for calling, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to me, Mr. Selby." And he laughed, and I'm just like, total rookie move. But it's just that and when I watched Dark Shadows, like I knew about Dark Shadows, but I didn't have that kind of familial, like nobody said, "Oh, hey, I was a big Dark Shadows fan." So like when I watched it, it's like I see Louis Emmons and I go, "Oh, that's Langley from All My Children." Saw Grayson Hall. "Oh yeah, that's that one crankety old woman from One Life to Live." And when David Selby comes on, it's, "Oh, that's the Falcon Crest guy." So if David Selby is watching, I really apologize, especially for the Falcon Crest guy crap. Although to be fair, he did a great little appearance in The Social Network as the Winklevoss's attorney. So
Yeah. And Jonathan, you interviewed one of the Dark Shadows actors too, and I thank you for sharing that video with me. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, in the 80s, I had got myself involved with what was called the Veterans Bedside Network. It was a organization that would go into psychiatric hospitals, the veteran psychiatric hospitals, and we would meet with patients that were in there for alcohol or drug rehabilitation or whatever, and we would we bring in television scripts and radio scripts and have them read the different parts, and then we play them back for them. And Addison Powell was part of that group, and so I got to know him, and I got to do an interview with him, and we showed that at a convention or two, I think, and I was able to dig it out and show it to you. And I would want it to be on YouTube someday if I could figure out how to transfer it over. And there was one other interview that I did during that time, because some of the other people that were involved with this Veterans Bedside Network were comic book people. Arnold Drake, who wrote and created the Doom Patrol and Dead Man, and did a bunch of issues of the X-Men, and so on and so on. And Wallace Green, who worked at Gold Key, and Arnold Drake, the two of them worked on the original Dark Shadows Gold Key comic books. And so I got another interview with all of them talking about the Gold Key comic books. And I would like to get that on YouTube as well at some point. But it's I got them both on VHS here at home. Just got to figure out how to transfer it over at some point or another.
Well, I was talking to Guy Haynes earlier, and he's in the process of taking all of the Dark Shadows festivals. And, because remember, he shot video for the festivals for years, and he's digitalizing all of that. So he's in the process of that right now. So he might be a good person to ask how to do that and how to get that online.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of talk in the last few years about the possibility of a Dark Shadows reboot or continuation. What would you guys like to see happen to Dark Shadows and the world of Collinsport in the future? Jonathan?
I know that a lot of us fans are probably sick of seeing Barnabas come out of the coffin again, all origin stories get tired every now and then. So maybe some kind of continuation of the 70s storyline that could be brought into the present or whatever might be a better idea. I don't know. I would love to see, yeah. I love the 91 series. I wish that it went longer, but of course the Gulf War was going on at the time. And so no one was watching anything but the Gulf War. And but yeah, I would love to see another Dark Shadows come back.
Gordon?
I think what I'd love to see is I'd love to see the Collins family in the present day, but then you then start to integrate. You don't do it in a fanish way, but you start to integrate like pieces from the classic series. It's like, okay, it's like I could see a sequence where you've got Nancy Barrett standing in front of a picture of Carolyn standing in front of Elizabeth saying, "Hello, mother," and then you move, and then there's like a photo of, say, Roger, and then you move, and there's a photo of Barnabas, and like the block says something like 1970 something to 1995, and then you move to a picture of David Selby, the classic, the classic Quentin look, and then the camera turns around and it's David Selby older. So you establish that, and you do news stories, but you might go, one story might be, okay, what happened to Barnabas in 1995? Is he dead? Is he alive? Because I think too often this kind of urge to go back and start all over. I think the problem is now with the way streaming services are set up, it's like they want that instant hit. And I think, Dark Shadows, I think, works best as a slow burn. Despite the theatricality, it's very much a slow burn series. But I'd really love to see that kind of, okay, what the heck's going on here? And then you start learning, and I think that's what I like to see. Like we've all seen, the hand through the coffin and, Victoria Winters on the train. We can do different. It's 2026. Let's spice it up a little.
Bobby?
Yeah, I would definitely love to see Dark Shadows be brought back. I mean, the stuff that they're doing now, like on streaming services like Netflix, I thought they did a great job with Dracula and with Frankenstein. So I would love it if like Guillermo del Toro or Robert Eggers came back to do Dark Shadows. I think that would be amazing, And I think like someone like that who really gets into like classic Gothic horror could do such a phenomenal job with it. And it's hard for me to say how I'd want it to be done in terms of, do we go back with the hand coming out of the coffin and stuff? Because you want it to play on two levels. You want it to be where the old fans will love it, and you got to bring David Selby and Catherine A. Scott. You got to bring these people back into it. It's a must. But you also want it to be where like new fans to get in and see what it's all about. And I almost wonder if like this is just like kind of thinking out loud, but like maybe even going back and forth between 1795 and present day, and like doing it, not taking those iconic moments and those iconic stories, but like telling them in a new way, where it's like it's not just the same standard of Willie finds the Barnabas in the mausoleum, but do it maybe where you're like in present day Victoria Winters is going to Collinwood, then they show in the past, like and just try different ways of telling that story and to make it new.
Yeah, the person I'd love to see do it is Mike Flanagan, who did Fall of the House of Usher, because I think he has a good mind for not just how Gothic works, but be able to do it in a within using modern tropes. And I could also see it if they did if Dark Shadows was produced the way that Yellowstone was, and that like you'd have like your first season of Dark Shadows, then you'd have another, and that ends with going to 1795. Then the second is the 1795 arc, where you don't need to worry about, and then it becomes this interesting, like, and then maybe what you do is during year two, you do like an 1897 arc where that dovetails, and then season three of Dark Shadows is your 1897. Because I think right now, I mean, the only hitch I see is that so many streaming series are only 8 to 10 episodes, and I think for a series like Dark Shadows, you need more. You need to give the
Yeah.
stories need to breathe. Like, yeah, I mean, I can't see like doing an 8 week, 45-minute episode series of Dark Shadows. Like you need like 10 to 13, like just go for it. Like if you can do it with Stranger Things, you can do it with Dark Shadows.
Oh, you know, it'd be great. 10 to 13 and like have them be like an hour and a half long.
Yes.
Yeah, that would, because that's something that you couldn't do years ago, but you could do that now. You know, like you could totally, like the Netflix Dracula series, it was 3 hours. It was, each one was like about an hour and a half. And imagine like 13 hour and a half episodes of Dark Shadows.
Yeah, and the great thing is that with modern technology, you can get more story because you're not worried about, it's less about special effects and more just you know how to get a story through. Like you know how to make that hour and a half count.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know
Okay,
that. I know that all the Dark Shadow, all the Stranger Thing kids, are all grown up now, but they're the perfect age to start a Dark Shadow series.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, like, because like horror is in, like, I feel like it's like, I know horror is always like, always been popular, but it's like it's so in right now. And like how we just had the Nosferatu movie, and like that gothic horror is in. It's like the time to strike.
Yeah.
Could you imagine which of the Stranger Thing actors could play the different parts?
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not really familiar with the Stranger Things series because I want to sit and watch a whole series and not have to wait 2 or 3 years in between seasons. So I think now that it's finished, I'll be able to actually sit and watch it, you know. But I've heard good things, so I'm curious about that.
Although the Welcome to Derry, the It series that just came out as well, that was much better than this past Stranger Things series. I was concerned.
I've heard good things about that one too. Very cool.
Oh, I do have an announcement to make.
Yes.
Just yesterday, I have created a new Dark Shadows fan. I was telling someone at work about, I was telling someone at work about Dark Shadows, and he thought for a moment and was like, wait a minute, that's my mom's crazy show. And I told him it's on Tubi. It's already available for you, you know. And he said, you know, I think tonight I'm gonna go home and I'm watching maybe like 2 or 3 episodes. He watched 5, and he said he's gonna watch some more tonight.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, he loved it. He's hooked already.
That's wonderful. Just yesterday, one of my coworkers, because I was telling him, oh yeah, I'm doing Dark Shadows podcast, and he was like, Dark Shadows, you know, I remember one episode, and it's not even a whole episode. I just have this vision. There was a man that was tied down, and there was like a guillotine swinging above him. I went, that was Quentin in 1897. And he's like, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know? And out of all the moments, that's like, I know exactly what you mean. And I told him, hey, the whole show's on Tubi. So I think he's going to hopefully start watching too.
It's so wonderful. I remember the first time I was like checking out Tubi, it was like Dark Shadows. That's perfect.
Yeah, I really like that they have the 2 different Dark Shadows. They've got Dark Shadows the beginning, and then they've got Dark Shadows starting with Barnabas and going all the way to the end. I like how they've done that because I know that some people maybe don't care for the beginning episodes, or they think it's too slow, or they're just anxious to get to Barnabas. So, you know, it's kind of nice to have that option, you know, that yes, you can watch all of the beginning and then, you know, go into the Barnabas, you know, just like when the show aired.
Or if you just want to watch from Barnabas on all the way to the end and then go back around, you can. And that's kind of like what I did when I first started watching, is when I first caught Dark Shadows on the Sci-Fi Channel, it was the haunting of Collinwood with Quentin as a ghost. And I didn't know what the heck this was. And here's this, gorgeous man in Victorian attire, kind of brooding. I went, what is this? And I was hooked. And I watched from that point all the way to the end. And that was actually the last run that they did on Sci-Fi, when they didn't even show the very end of 1841 Parallel Time. So I had to buy the tapes because I don't think they were on DVD yet. I think they were still on the VHS tapes. So I had to get those to watch the end of the storyline. Then it's like, okay. And then I didn't get to see the beginning until a little while later, when all the DVDs started coming out and I could actually afford them. And I was getting the DVDs and I went, oh, okay, that's who so-and-so is. And that's why this happened. Because when I first started going to the festivals, I hadn't seen, prior to coming into that haunting of Collinwood storyline. So I didn't know who Josette was, really. I didn't know about Adam. I didn't know Victoria Winters. In fact, I think it was my first or second festival, and Betsy Durkin was there, who played the second Victoria Winters. I didn't know who she was, but boy, was she nice. Sure, I want your autograph. Sure, I'll take a picture with you.
Yeah, but if you miss that first year, you miss things like, the Ghost of Matthew and the Phoenix storyline. They did have supernatural stuff in that first year.
They did. Even within the first really few episodes, Victoria hears the crying at night and it echoes throughout the house. And that was this wonderful, eerie moment. I mean, it does give you goosebumps. They talk about ghosts periodically in those early episodes. And then when we actually see Josette and she comes out of her portrait and she's walking around the old house and, kind of going around the columns of the old house, that was a fantastic moment. It was like, yes, okay, now this is really paying off. Here are the ghosts. They're not just talked about, and that I thought that was a great moment.
I did too. And what's so amazing is even before they're just talking about them, you get the impression, especially for me, having started with episode 210 and then gone back, you do always get the impression that this house is haunted. You always get the feeling there's more to it that you're not seeing. And something that I think is so groovy about in the first episode, when Victoria Winters asks Bert Devlin, how do you get around in this place? And he says, broomsticks and unicorns. And then later we'll have Angelique, and then later we'll have Count Patoffy, who had the pet unicorn. And then I think I could be wrong, but I think it's episode 4 or 5, and Carolyn says, at the stroke of midnight, Uncle Roger becomes Count Dracula. So how neat, it's they didn't mean to foreshadow it, but it did, because it's just it's part of that world.
And talking about the world of Collinsport and the world of Dark Shadows, what did you guys think of that alternate worlds of the two Dark Shadows movies, House of Dark Shadows and Night of Dark Shadows? Bobby?
But I guess I really, really love them. I remember the first time I saw it, it was because I already I was already loving all the actors and stuff like that, and it was oh my god, these Dark Shadows, they're in a movie. And it was honestly seeing all these favorite actors, but and the first time I saw it was on videotape, but the second time I saw it was at the Dark Shadows Festival. That was the first time. That was the second time I saw House of Dark Shadows, and the first time I ever saw Night of Dark Shadows. And it was just amazing seeing these actors that you love in a full on movie. And even though it was different from the Dark Shadows of the show, because it is this amazing group of actors, and it's this really unique house, the Lyndhurst estate. It felt like another world, but it was still that Dark Shadows world with all these actors that you love.
Gordon?
I thought Night of Dark Shadows was kind of a good Cliff Notes version of the of that storyline. I mean, I think it's probably the best Hammer style film that Dan Curtis ever made. Um, I think Night is. I think Night. I know there's a lot of like scenes that are cut out, so to me it feels like a very choppy. Like I don't. I kind of know what the story is, but I think there it. I think it's if you see it as an atmosphere piece rather than a straightforward horror story or even a straightforward gothic story, it really works.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan?
House of Dark Shadows was the way that Dan Curtis really wanted to see Barnabas done.
Mm-hmm.
The TV show was how Jonathan Frid wanted to see Barnabas done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Barnabas in the House of Dark Shadows was much more scary, much more intense, much more. My favorite part of it is toward the end where Barnabas yells out, "Cool!" which was done way before William Shatner ever yelled out, "Cool!" in the same way. So Jonathan Frid, Dark Shadows did it first.
Mm-hmm. Well, we should probably wrap up here in a bit. Now, one thing that I want to do with this podcast is, highlighting and showcasing my talented friends. And, you're all just so brilliant and wonderful and talented. And Gordon, I will have a post, a link in the description to your Amazon page and your writing. Bobby, I will have a link to your YouTube and your TikTok, and I'll also be posting a compilation of the Barnabas and Angelique videos that we've done.
Yes.
And Jonathan, I'm happy to post links for you. And I'll also be showing the curtains skit that the Collinsport Players did, which I'll be editing into this podcast, so it's available to everybody because that's a wonderful skit, and my dear friend Amanda's in that as well. And so I'll be doing that. But one thing I also want to do is like an open mic type segment. So if you guys have anything Dark Shadows, like a poem that you want to read, or a song that you want to sing, or fan art that you want to share, feel free to do it. And you don't have to do it right now on the spot. If you want to send a video in later, and I can edit that in, we can do that. Jonathan, I know that you wanted to sing a song for us.
Can you also link in my JB Bears Halloween song?
I can. I'm working on.
And I don't know if you can link in the Addison Powell interview, but
I can certainly try. I'm starting to get the hang of. That's what I was going to tell you, Gordon. I kind of figured out how to take the YouTube out, because I know we were working on that the other day. But that's something I kind of have figured out how to do and work on. So I'm going to do my best to do that. But yeah, if you guys want to, send in anything like that, we can do that and just edit it in, and we can certainly do that.
Okay.
Let me see if I've got a song here for you.
Okay.
At the Blue Whale, we can drink some ale, get into a fight, and wind up in jail. At the Blue Whale, our love will never fail as long as you come back to me. At the Blue Whale, our love will never fail no matter where I may sail out to sea, as long as I come back to the blue whale, as long as you come back to me. We can dance all night, our feet can take flight on the dance floor. We can go out for a bite, stay up all night, and walk on the sandy shore. At the blue whale, our love will never fail, no matter where I may sail out to sea, as long as I come back to the blue whale, as long as you come back to me. As long as you come back to me.
Wonderful. I love it.
I don't know if you
That
could
was
even use that on
wonderful.
YouTube. Don't we get monetized for those things?
Well, I think because the background music was so low, so you're mostly singing a cappella, I think we can get away with it.
Okay.
I think so. We'll try. That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Those, of course, are the words that I wrote.
Amazing. I love that.
I love it. And I think on that note, we will start wrapping up here. And because I know it's kind of late for you guys in Chicago, it's not as late for us out here. But I know I need to charge my phone and feed the girls. So
It's not even sunrise yet.
Yes, we have all night.
Yeah. Daylight is really not a thing for Dark Shadows fans. You know, usually the best stuff happens when the sun goes down.
All right.
very true. Well, I am so happy that you guys could join me today. And I think this is going to be the second episode. I think the one that I just recorded, I think I'll put that one out first. And then I'll have this one out second. They could possibly even be out on the same day. I don't know. I'm shooting for February 4th. So we'll see. I'm waiting for a few video submissions to edit in. And so working on editing and things like that. So hopefully I can get both episodes out by February 4th. So I hope.
Oh, wonderful. I can't wait to see them.
I'm excited and I'm a little nervous, but
Oh, you're going to do sensational, Catherine. And I want to just say this has been such a wonderful podcast. You're such a great host. You made it such a warm, inviting, comfortable environment.
you. I tried. I don't have any notes. I'm just going off the top of my head. And, I didn't want anything kind of too structured and stuffy. And, I know when I was talking with Guy and Sharon earlier, it was just like boom, 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 boom. And so I was getting kind of nervous because I'm like, come on, guys. Don't leave me hanging. But y'all did great. And, I'm so happy to talk to each and every one of you, and not just today, but all of the time, because I love you guys. You're my Dark Shadows family. You're my cousins. You're my people, and I really enjoy each and every one of you.
Yes, we're ancestors, not incestors.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember at one of the Dark Shadows conferences that I'd attended back in the 90s. They had Louis Edmonds on stage and they were playing like the usual best of clips. And it ended with him saying that line. And as soon as that ended, he got up and he took a bow.
Well, he did such a great job with that line. I don't think anyone else could cover it up the way he did.
Yeah, he was
And that-
really good. 'Cause wasn't there another one where he said something like, I traveled 50 miles. Oh, it felt like miles. It was feet.
Yeah.
The car.
Yeah, he
with
did
the
like
car.
the same thing where he covered it up. Yeah. and that's what's so amazing about it's not just like the mistakes, it's how they overcome them and how they make it like it doesn't feel like Louis Edmonds messed up his lines. It felt like Roger Collins misspoke.
Yeah, like for years, I always thought like it was after that I learned that Jonathan Frid had trouble with his lines. But when he's got the rifle with like the "you know what to do, Vicky," I thought that was a deliberate acting choice. Like he was like Barnabas was so shocked at that point. He's like he can't even remember who Julia is. But that was a flub.
Well, it kind of makes, because I mean, I'm just doing it right now. Like I'm messing up what I'm saying. People do that. People do forget like people's names, and like when Liz is like trying to remember, oh, that place in South America, Bellum. That feels like a real like that's something that people do, you know. So I feel like I feel like it creates a bigger intimacy with the actors.
Yeah, it does because because the actors aren't just trying to be, they're doing everything else. They're talented enough because they've all been on stage to know, okay, how do I turn this mistake into something intentional?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's what always always amazes me about it. And I should have said this earlier, but that's another thing I learned from Dark Shadows is like you just got to keep going.
Well, that was the thing with that song I just did. I rehearsed it one way, and then when I did it in front of you guys, I reversed some of the verses.
Oh, well, we didn't notice.
We didn't
thought
notice.
it was wonderful.
I had no idea that you did that. It was amazing.
Wonderful. Well, I guess we better wrap it up, cousins. And again, I am so, so happy and grateful that you guys were here with me tonight.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me, Catherine. And it's been amazing talking to all of you guys.
Yeah, good talking to all of you as well.
Yes, thank you very much for including me.
Anytime. And I'm looking forward to spending more time with you at the event because I know we didn't get to spend a whole lot of time together last time. So hopefully this time, and hopefully Bobby will be with us. And
that's what I'm hoping for. Yeah. I so hope to go. It would be amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I hope you can go, buddy. You're gonna love it, and everybody's gonna love you. So many of our Dark Shadows family think you're just wonderful, and they love your videos, and they're really looking forward to meeting you.
Aw, thank you.
So on that note, we will say good night and goodbye from the back room at the Blue Whale. I will be posting links to writer Gordon Damaski's page. I will be posting links for Bobby Lugosi and Lugosi Theater, and I will be posting links for Jonathan Harrison, who is beyond comparison.
That's
Thank
what I
you.
won't say.
Yes.
Goodbye, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, good night.
Good night, cousins.
Good night,
See you at the
all.
Blue Whale, gang.
Leviathans, heartthrobs, mutton chops, mazel tov, trains and fangs, and unrequited love. Suicide, black mask bride, could she be a witch? Well, this one might. How many times must we go to 1795? One ghost, two ghosts, how many more? How many people know about the secret doors? Thought her hubby in the locked room was buried good and deep. But surprise, he's alive and the dream curse puts me to sleep. I am a fan of the legions of the damned. They salute you, and you too. Brace yourselves, it's parallel time.
anytime you're ready, go.
20 years ago, on April 8th, a character started on Dark Shadows that was a springboard of a whole new storyline. This character was killed off a month later on May 6th. In that short month, he was able to bring about the means of curing Barnabas's vampirism and bringing about the creation of the creature Adam. Of course, I am talking about the eminent Dr. Eric Lang, who I have here beside me, portrayed by Addison Bud Powell. May I call you Bud?
Certainly can, yeah.
So how did you get your start on Dark Shadows?
Well, I was went through the kind of the usual procedure in those days. I guess it's still the procedure of when a role comes up, they throw it open for auditions, and I suspect that I was maybe had a little kind of an edge in Dark Shadows by virtue of the fact that I'd worked with Bob Costello, Robert Costello. He and I were old personal friends, and he'd also been the producer of the Armstrong Circle Theater, which was one of the leading live shows that you probably remember, or may not remember, from the 50s. So he became the executive producer, excuse me, of the Dark Shadows, so I think I got consideration that way. I think part of the reason also that I was cast is that I had played at that time enough doctors to hang out a shingle. I mean, I had almost played so many doctors I was fed up with them. For instance, on the soap opera Secret Storm, I was the family doctor on that for 7 years. You know, good old steady Spencer Hadley, the family practitioner. So I think part of the reason I was cast was that I was very convincing image for a doctor in a serious way. And so to have this this loose cannon named Eric Lang, you know, who was as crazy as anybody on the show, I think they wanted a kind of a straight, you know, convincing image of a doctor, and then little by little you discover what a madman he is as he goes along. So I think those were the contributing factors to how I happened to get the part.
And how did you evolve the character of Dr. Eric Lang?
Well, I think the whole trick with it was to start out as kind of low-key and sincere as possible. That is, I mean, to just treat him as just another good old doctor that was out very dedicated, you know, and had this real scientific bent that he was going to apply, which as the plot quickly swerved into things like doing soul transplants or curing a man of his vampirism, the craziness took care of itself because the premise is so outrageous. You know, it's just like the whole idea when you're doing a farce, the more serious you are as an actor, usually the funnier it will appear. So in this, which was a combination, that crazy combination that Dark Shadows had of being part farce and part melodrama, the whole trick to Dark Shadows usually was the more serious you played it and the more intense and sincere, the more outrageous it became to the viewers. And that's why I think it found its kind of special niche in the world of soap opera. Because soap operas, as far as I know up to that time, were relatively kind of quiet, naturalistic sort of things that dragged on for, you know, for months before anything really would happen. There were, you know, all those scenes in the conventional soap operas, people sitting around drinking coffee and talking about something. You could miss a show for a month, and you come back and maybe it's a day later or sometimes even the same day. But the thing on Dark Shadows is that thing went like an express train, you know. I mean, if you missed a day or two days on Dark Shadows, you frequently missed something very, very juicy, you know. So I think that's part of the reason we build up such a rabid and intent audience. Now, I hope, does that answer your question about building the character of Lang? I mean, that's the way we built it. And so when he finally did go crazy, which I think was in the last week, it was to reveal the kind of madman that was trapped within him all the time. But the thing that made him interesting was that you didn't see that right away, or at least I hope they didn't see it right away. Yeah.
What were your own personal feelings on that madman doctor that tried to be God and create life from death?
Oh, it's great fun. You know, anytime you play God, that's you know, that's the ultimate. You know, yeah, playing power people it's a trip for an actor. You know, whether they'll admit it or not. You know, it's a real trip when you play that kind of character.
Hey, Jonathan, action.
Now, Jonathan Frid was the first actor you worked with on the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was it like working with him?
Working with Jonathan Frid, well, it's unlike working with any other actor that I know of. I think, or that it's been my experience to work with, and I think part of it comes from the weirdness of the character. I mean, every once in a while, you get a matchup, you know, where you get the right actor and the right character at the right time. So when you get a weird character like Barnabas, and then you get an actor who has all of these attributes to bring to it, you know, you have something really kind of special. So I always thought of Jonathan as a very, very special actor, and his identity with this character was so great, you know, that I really sometimes didn't know where he left off and Barnabas began, or vice versa. He was Jonathan was a very kind and nice guy. I do want to say that he's a very gentle person, yes. Which I suppose Barnabas at bottom is a very gentle person. But I always remember the night before my first day on the show, which was, you know, can be, you know, a little nervous time. You're starting a new character on a show and so forth. I remember I had a telephone call from Jonathan Frid, and he said, would you like to run your lines on the telephone? I thought that was very nice. It was a first. It was the first time it had ever happened. It was very helpful. I went to bed that night with the voice of Jonathan Frid, Barnabas in my ear, and woke up the next day, and we had a very good show. So I'm always very grateful to him for that introduction to the show.
And Grayson Hall, how was she to work with?
Oh, Grayson was a real trooper. She had quite a theater background. You know, she came from a real solid theater background. She'd done a lot of film as well, and she had a really commanding presence. I mean, something that was so solid about Grayson. I mean, she had real authority, and that voice, you know, which is probably the closest thing to Tallulah Bankhead that we'll ever hear on television. You know, that kind of real. It was Dr. Hoffman she played, right?
Julia Hoffman,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So she was great fun to play with.
Your other actor you worked with was Roger Davis.
Roger, yeah. I think Roger and I were well matched. I think because Roger was a very sympathetic sort of guy, a very earnest, straightforward, romantic, young, all-American boy. And I think as the plot went on and I started laying these impossible demands on him, you know, I mean, when I was collecting the spare parts to build Adam, you know, I needed an arm or a leg or a kneecap or whatever, you know. I think the look of pain that would come across Roger's face is I'd say, you know, that kneecap you brought me, it won't quite do. I mean, I described it very carefully, you know, and you didn't really listen. You didn't bring back, because I was trying to drive him crazy, you know, as I was trying to work on it. So I think his casting was really excellent, because, you know, you get that very pained look when I would lay these heavy demands on him. Yeah.
On the show, the short month that you were on the show, you seemed to be cursed more than any other character that went through the whole series.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't you feel silly doing some of those curse scenes where you were falling over the floor and all that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you know, as an actor, you get used to doing crazy things in this business, you know, so... and particularly after they did allow me like a couple of weeks, I was fairly sane. I mean, fairly normal things were happening to me, so that when the outlandish things started to happen, I don't recall that I objected too greatly.
Well, you couldn't. You were being paid for it.
That's right. Yeah, sure. That's right. No, they were great fun. Yeah, it was very exhilarating. As I said before, there was the challenge of Dark Shadows operated on such a level of energy, which was like 3 or 4 times above the usual soap opera of that time. So that it was such great fun to come on with a lot of energy and a lot of really big things to do. That was, I think the average actor who was on Dark Shadows would remember that aspect of it very.
Have any recollections about your Dream Curse sequence?
Ah, the big Dream Curse sequence, yes. Oh, yeah, that was very exciting, yeah. I remember that was a very, very big day for me. It was very awesome, because, for one thing, I could see that the end was in sight. I knew that my days on the show were not long, and so it's always rather impressive and awesome when you're reaching the end of your tenure. But I thought it was very well staged. All of those doors and coming in, and the doors open up, and then there was the usual mist. Oh, that was another thing about the show is that if you didn't like mist, that was no show to be on, because I mean that smoke machine was just working overtime, and I remember it did on those shows. But yeah, I was properly impressed with the dream sequence. Yeah.
Were you at any point supposed to last any longer than you did, or was that your contract for just the 1 month?
They never told me when I went on. I never knew. I never knew how long it would last. I'm not sure they did. I think they knew that probably Lang would be killed off at some time, but I wasn't told. I guess I knew maybe 3 or 4 days ahead when I got the scripts. That's usually how you find out on it. Yeah.
You didn't work with many other actors, but there was one interesting scene you had with Louis Edmonds where he came at you with a harpoon.
Oh, yeah. Well, the interesting thing about that was that I think that the whole idea whereby I almost became impaled with the harpoon on the wall was that my good friend Bob Costello, the producer, who had a large say in the dressing of the sets, how the sets were dressed, was responsible for that great array of harpoons on the wall of Louis' living room. And because Bob Costello himself, his passion in life was the collecting of harpoons. He probably has the world's greatest collection of harpoons outside of the Bedford Whaling Museum. So they incorporated that into the show. While I was kneeling down to stir up the fire, Louis Edmonds seized the harpoon, and for a brief moment, I was on the verge of being harpooned. Louis is a very fine actor, by the way. Louis Edmonds, great pleasure to work with. Yeah.
Bob Costello also put you in Adams Chronicles?
Yes, right. Yeah, I was in the first or second episode of the Adams Chronicles. Yeah, which he was the executive producer of that, and I played Abigail Adams' father, who was a minister of that period.
Yes, Nancy Barrett was also on that show toward the end, who played Carolyn on Dark Shadows.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was on at the beginning, she was on at the end.
You were also the Gordon's Fisherman on commercials.
Gordon's of Gloucester, yeah. That gave me many good years with peddling fish for Gordon's of Gloucester, the fish sticks and fish fillets. I was under contract for 12 years to Gordon's of Gloucester. And the beautiful thing about doing commercials, or being a spokesman or whatever, is that in terms of time, it takes so little time. I mean, it was like maybe 2 days a year that we would spend actually making the commercials. Maybe I'd do a radio spot every now and then. But they would pay a very nice guarantee every year, and so that would kind of like underwrite my year, you know. So then I was free to do theater, which I love to do, and I've done a lot of regional theater in the last 10 years. And films, I was in a film, Rosary Murders last year. I don't seem to be able to stay away from murder, do I?
No.
That was a very gory film, and I met a very gory end in that. I was a friendly jogging priest who was run down by the fiend while jogging along peacefully one day. That was the last feature film I made.
That was made in Detroit, my hometown.
Oh, that's right. Sure. Right. Yeah.
How did they treat you in Detroit? No muggings or anything, I hope.
No, very peaceful. Yeah. One of the things that I think I remember most vividly about Dark Shadows is that the physical conditions under which we worked. We worked over on ABC studio over on 54th Street, right. Which is still there, I believe. But that studio was so small, or at least it seemed so small, because of everything that was jammed into this studio. I mean, we literally had everything but the kitchen sink. And on one show, you might have a gaping grave with a couple of grave diggers and all the dirt. And then I remember one effect in particular. They had a camera down in the grave looking up from the point of view of the corpse, and then these heads loomed up and you hear all this mumbling and so forth, and then the shovel would appear, and then you got this giant grave digger shoveling dirt, right down onto the camera. Effects that in Hollywood they would take like 3 days to develop an effect like that, but it was just part of a day's work on Dark Shadows. But next to that gaping grave, you might have a ballroom scene, with waltzers going around, and then you might have a grand stairway just around that, all crammed into this tiny set. So for the actor and especially for the cameraman, it must have been murder. I'm thinking of the cameraman because the cameraman had an inch or two leeway to keep that camera from going into the other set. And in those days, there were no cuts at the end of scene. We did that show straight through. So, as I said, the whole thing moved like an express train, but you had to, and then the floor was just a mass of cables, naturally, all over the floor. So to avoid the cables, to get to the right mark at the right time, threading your way through other actors and cameras and so forth, and then to remember your lines once you got there. It was a trick, and it was quite a trip. But also, I do remember, speaking of things on the floor, every spring vacation, that studio was a magnet for, it seemed like, half the school kids in America, ranging anywhere from 3rd grade all the way up to high school and even college kids. And I remember that block on those school days. Sometimes the crowd would start at 9th Avenue and would fill that street, and then there was a school playground across the street. The playground was completely full, and the crowds would stretch all the way to 10th, roaring for the characters to make their appearance at the dressing room window. And then Jonathan Fred would come out like the Pope on, St. Peter's, and raise his hand in benediction, and all this great roar would go up from the crowd. Then they would yell for the rest of it, Dr. Lang, and so forth, and we'd all come out and take these bows. And then from time to time, just to pacify the mob, I guess, they would bring about 30 or 40 of them into the studio, and of course they had no place to put them, so they were on the floor too, in addition to all the cables and the wires, so you were tripping over school kids. And they were there right through the taping, which made it a little exciting also. So that's some of the things that we put up with on Dark Shadows.
You die on the show anyway?
Well, for those who don't recall, perhaps, I died a horrible death in a most noble and strenuous cause. The thing that I was, the stars that I was reaching for was the first soul transplant in history. That is, we had created this perfect body of Adam, a leg here and an arm there, a kneecap there and an elbow, and everything had worked out just beautifully. Even the brain we got in there pretty good. All of the feedback that we were getting was fine there. But then, hubris, pride took over, and we had to get a soul in there. So that offended, my ambition offended Angelique, as I recall, the evil witch. And so while I was in the midst of the operation, she started putting her pinpricks into her Eric Lang doll somewhere, and so I suffered a terrible, agonizing triple heart attack while performing this operation, and was stricken and had only the strength to gasp out instructions to Dr. Julia Hoffman about what I had done wrong and that what she should watch out for in the future, in hopes that Adam, that even though I was dying for the cause of science, that it would be carried on by Dr. Hoffman. So that was the end of Dr. Lang.
You may be wondering how I was able to dig up Addison Powell here.
Very good, very good.
It's through the Veterans Bedside Network, which I'm a volunteer with, and which you have been involved with. How did you get involved with the VBN?
Through a fellow actor. I was doing I think it was an industrial show once. There was a guy named Marty Ash, and I'm going way back to 1962 at least. And I had a break, and Marty told me about this wonderful activity he had with the veterans. And I was a veteran myself, and it seemed at that time, 1962, would have been, well, not too long after World War II. And his description of, number one, the need for something like this and the precise nature of what we were doing really struck a sympathetic chord. And for those of you who don't know, the Veterans Bedside Network operates nationwide. We service over 100 hospitals, 105 or something like that. And the nature of our service is to come into a hospital, a veterans hospital, and we get the veterans to entertain themselves, literally. We guide them in the direction of entertaining. Let me just tell you what we do. My activity has been what we call a script activity. We come into the VA hospital, certain wards in the hospital, and we come in with these radio scripts. They're usual radio versions of very popular TV shows like MASH or whatever, and they're cut down to about 15, 20 minutes in length, with the 6 or 8 usual characters, say, from MASH and so forth. And in the period of usually no less than an hour and a half, we cast the thing with the guys and the ladies playing the parts, and then we read it through once, then we record it with sound effects as lavish as we can make it in the time at hand, and then we play it back so the patients get a chance to hear themselves in the role of Hawkeye or whatever in MASH. And we have a vast library of radio scripts, probably totals about 300 of the great radio and television scripts. And as I say, the whole purpose is that we lead them in the direction of entertaining themselves, which makes it a much more creative evening for them. Same thing in our music activity. We come into the hospital where we supply usually a pianist, and maybe we have a singer or two, but not featuring our singers. It's just to get the guys themselves into singing, and then they get up and perform. If any of them have any special musical talents, playing a guitar, any instrument whatsoever, they get up and play it. And in many cases now it's televised as well as on the audio tape. So the whole idea is that they are the stars of the evening, and they perform, and then they get a chance, they have the thrill of seeing themselves performing. So we've been told by many of the leading psychologists in the VA hospital that our activity is probably the top activity for instant, quick, recognizable therapy. We've been recognized right from the top, the head of the VA in Washington. We've had wonderful national recognition. And I just want to say, as a volunteer, and I'm sure you would feel the same way, is that when you give doing this as a volunteer, you really receive more than you give. I mean, I could, the pictures that flood into my mind of the creativity coming from people who are many of them in a state of total apathy, when you go in. It is such a lift to all of us. So if any of you ever are in the vicinity of a VA hospital that has this kind of activity, I can assure you you're in for a very rich and rewarding experience. I've been at it now for, well, about 26 years, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. And of late years, I've had the great pleasure of running our national script contest, which means that the scripts go out to our hospitals all over the country, and they send in their entries, and we judge them. And here, right here, you see one of the great moments in the script contest, and this was the year that we had Nancy Marchand and Jason Robards and Barnard Hughes, all as the judges, our distinguished panel of judges, and they listened to these
Here at the back room at the Blue Whale, I get along with a little help from my friends. And here's my friend Cassie now, with Cassie's Corner. Take it away, Cassie.
Hi, everybody. This is Cassie Hussy back again. And this time the topic is etiquette at a convention. This would apply to any convention, but particularly to the Dark Shadows convention taking place in Los Angeles in July. So what I want to, this is basically about good manners. And when you come into the convention and you're interacting with people, you want to keep up a friendly attitude. You're going to need a lot of patience because there's going to be long lines. There's going to be people that maybe will spend a lengthy amount of time with a celebrity that you wanted to interact with. It could be crowded. So you need to have a lot of patience, and you need to have a lot of respect for everyone's space bubble. Everybody's bubble is different. Some people don't mind if you're close. Other people do. They have a larger space bubble. So, and you yourself may have a space bubble that you want to maintain. So it may be crowded, but you want to maintain your own space bubble, and you want to make sure that you're not crossing into somebody else's. So this is going to take patience, it's going to take understanding, and it's going to take reading the reactions of other people. If you get too close and you notice someone is kind of shimmying away, it means that their bubble feels a little bit invaded by yours. So you need to back up just a little bit. A lot of folks want to take pictures with their cameras. Sometimes a person is so excited about taking a picture, they just kind of rush up and they start snapping away. That's kind of rude. It's always important to ask for permission first before you take a picture, especially of the celebrities that are at the convention. You don't want to just run up to them and start taking pictures that, they want to pose for you. They want to smile. Maybe they want to be in the picture with you. So you always ask for permission before you do that. And in a group situation, maybe your group of friends have gone out to eat and you're all sitting around a table and you want to pull out your camera and you want to snap some pictures just to have it as, wow, this is like a souvenir. But you need to ask permission from the group if they are okay with being in the picture. So that's important too, is always ask permission before you take a picture. Another thing is it's important to wait your turn. Sometimes people get impatient and they want to move up, or I guess what's referred to as cutting up in line. That is not etiquette. That's not good etiquette. What you have to be, this is where patience comes in again and understanding. You have to wait for your turn. And if that means that the person ahead of you that is missed meeting, say, David Selby or Catherine Lee Scott, and they're wanting to carry on a longer conversation, you can't be irritable and like, oh, let's go. You have to be patient, maintain your good composure, your good attitude, and then it'll be your turn eventually, and then you'll get to interact with the celebrity, and it'll be on happier terms because you won't have been bubbling with impatience. Okay, so say that there's a panel that you're going to be attending, or there's another group activity where there's going to be a lot of people in the audience. There is etiquette there. What you want to do in a setting like that is you want to make sure you turn your phone off to phone calls or notifications. You want to, you don't want to talk over a celebrity when they're speaking, or if you've asked them a question, they start to answer, and then you start to answer back. Let them finish what they're saying first, and then you can respond. And in the same way, when a panelist is speaking, it would be more polite to refrain from speaking aloud, maybe to a friend of yours, or whispering loudly. Because that can distract not only the celebrity, but it can distract the people around you from listening to what the celebrity is saying. And then the last thing that you really need to be conscious of is avoiding blocking another person's view. So say you're sitting in front of someone and you got a big hat on. You want to be mindful of the fact that a person sitting behind you may not be able to see around this big hat. And so you may want to sit a little bit further back, or even better, take the hat off, at least while this activity is going on. And then everybody has a clear view of what's happening in front of them. And those are just some important tips to remember when you attend a convention, and it can create a much more positive atmosphere for everybody. So everybody enjoys themselves and they have fun, and they come away with really good, warm feelings and memories from the convention. Just as a little bit, a quick review about items maybe that you want to bring with you to the convention. You want to make sure you bring a pair of comfy shoes. And that is because of long wait lines to see your celebrity. You want to, if you're going to be dressing up as a character, you want to make sure you have everything you need and a little emergency pack in case you have either a costume accident or maybe your makeup needs to be refreshed. You want to make sure you bring a water bottle so that you can fill from a water fountain. And if you don't bring a water bottle, just make sure you have access to being able to bring a bottle of water with you to the floor. You want to make sure that you not only stay hydrated, but you want to make sure that you have something, either a light snack for waiting in the long line in case you get hungry. And you absolutely want to make sure you pack and bring your charger. Okay, and then last but not least, there's one other little bit of etiquette that I wanted to bring up about people that dress as characters, dress in period costumes. Again, we're talking about respect for others here. And so you want to be positive about whoever is dressed up or is wearing makeup or is acting as cosplaying as a character from Dark Shadows. Be respectful of that and leave the criticism up here and not out here. And I think I covered everything that I can think of in terms of etiquette. And so, hope everybody has a really great time. And I'll see you next time.
Don't try me, don't define me. I don't want to hurt you, Willie, but I must if you don't obey me. Hear me well, follow my commands. You can never tell any one of my plans. Forget the girl, she's mine, I say she's mine. She must be after all, if not she must die. Don't try me, don't define me. I don't want to hurt you, Willie, but I must if you don't obey me. Do as I tell you, keep well within my reach. What's the world coming to when a man can't beat his Willie in peace? Stay quiet, you've work to do. I don't want to give you a speech. You're done when I say you're through. Now come and roll down your sleeve. Don't try me, don't defy me. I don't want to hurt you, Willie, but I must if you don't obey me. Don't try me, don't defy me. I don't want to hurt you, Willie, but I must if you don't obey me.
Welcome home, cousin. Welcome.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed it here at the back room at the Blue Whale today. We had a great time with some wonderful cousins that joined us. As you can see, I've changed my clothes because I'm off to a sale at the Todd's Antique Shop. Catch you next time, cousin. We'll see you next time, here, where the legions of the damned salute you. Good night, cousin.
The Back Room at the Blue Whale is a Dark Shadows podcast.